Hello, welcome in for another live episode. I'm super excited for this because this actually came about through having conversations, and I have shifted from trying to plan out lives for the next month to instead really just focus on my conversations with you guys and building my lives based on the things that you're experiencing, the questions that you're having. So I really just kind of let it marinate, let it flow, see what's really speaking to people. And I actually spoke with someone who kind of helped me to know this is what I needed to speak about this week. And it came from a place that I feel a lot of you can also share in. How do I position myself, or will they even pay me to come in and do X, Y, and Z when this huge company has all of these internal teams that can do the same work that I do? Why would they hire me? Is this the question? And I felt that this is a good topic to talk about because one, I want to share with you and kind of again bust that myth, shift the belief here because that's actually not true. They will hire people who do the same things that their internal team does. And we're going to get into what exactly that looks like and how to differentiate yourself as an expert versus their staff that does this every day. So, if this is your first time here for a live episode, my name is Kirstyn Allen. I am your corporate contract strategist. And essentially, what that means is I help individuals turn their expertise, whether they are a seasoned business owner or a seasoned corporate professional, into a workshop, a signature talk, a program, a consulting offer that can be sold B2B. And that doesn't necessarily mean the corporate companies that make all the devices that we use. That also looks like nonprofits. That also looks like universities and colleges. And more recently, if you've checked out my posts, that also looks like K-12 school districts and organizations, which I'm super excited to dive more into that arena as well. That's what I do. That's who I help. We're just all about making bigger opportunities for ourselves and making more impact with organizations that need our expertise. So, today we're going to cover why this happens. We're going to talk about some easy ways to show up in these spaces and really how to shift your own belief. Because, as I mentioned in the post when I was talking about what this episode would be about, we also need to understand that companies already know the value in hiring expert or outside contractors, vendors, experts like you. They already know. What stops us as the vendors, as the experts, is that we don't go after the opportunities because we already assume that they won't hear us or they won't see value in what we do. We've got to make sure that we take the first step. Let them tell you no. That's probably the first piece of advice that you can get from this episode today. Let them tell you no. Don't shoot yourself in the foot or shut the door on something before you even try. So, I want to talk about this first from a practical sense so that I can give you like a real live example. So, I've shared this before, but in addition to being a contractor, a vendor with organizations, I've also been on the buyer side. So I've been inside of large organizations, spend billions of dollars, have all these teams, have all these resources, and I have been tasked with finding an external vendor to work on a project that not only someone on our team could have done, but literally have so many teams within this company that could have done this project. So let's talk about it. So, one of the first things that I was given when I first got hired at my current company was to find someone to develop an email banner for our team. I might have told this story before, but a lot of you are new and always coming in. So, if you haven't heard it, this is going to be good for you. So we needed an email banner. Very simple, right? Just the name of our team with our corporate banner. So I work for like a Fortune 50 company. I'm sure it's at that list, that level right now. So we have corporate branding standards, all of those things. So we needed that in addition to, I think it was our logo, team name, and like our colors, our branding. Pretty simple. So my manager says like, "Hey, we've used this company, a third party company." Now, I work on a marketing team. We could have developed this, right? He's like, "Work with this external company that they already give business to, get a quote for this email banner, let them know what we're looking to do, get a quote, and then, we'll pay for it and get it done." So I'm like, "Okay, this is kind of strange. I mean, I feel like my teenage cousins could probably do this easy of a banner, but okay." So I reach out to the company. Granted, I'm sure they're on like a vendors list with our company, but however way, they got connected with my manager and even still connect with me very often to see what opportunities that we may have for design work. But I reached out to them and they gave me a quote. And guess what the quote is? So if you're watching live, go ahead and drop a number. If you're watching the replay, drop it real time. What do you think that this particular company quoted me for a simple email banner with, again, logo, background, team name? Drop that below. So got the quote and I'll let you know it was $800. And I'm like, "Oh, really? Wow. Okay." Nothing wrong with that because we clearly have the money to spend, but I just kind of thought, isn't this a good opportunity to share with my audience? This is a multi-billion dollar company that has not just one marketing team, y'all. This company has several different business units in one. And no, 1250 is good. That's good, Liz. I mean, it's right up there. Several different companies in one, or several different organizations in one. So this could have been done easily by anyone. Why did we seek to hire someone else? And this is why, the part of what I want to share with you. Companies recognize that their internal workforce is focused on key things. So they hire people to do very specific work, and they understand what it costs to go outside of that, or what it costs to put more than what that person is supposed to do. They hire people for their zone of genius and for their expertise. Anything outside of that, it begins to raise the question, do I add this to this person's plate, taking them away from the strategic work that I need them to do or what I hired them to do? Or do I find someone who is a cheaper in terms of return on investment, resources, option to provide the tactical work? And so, inside of organizations, yes, you do get tactical requests. I'm sure we all have experienced that. But the main thing that they're hiring you for is to think, strategy, um, improve processes, bring something to the table. Because if we're honest, they can get a software or tool just to spit out some tasks. You are there as human capital to be strategic. So it's in their best, in their best, what am I trying to say? In their best option, or their best opinion, we're going to go move for it, to be able to use their people for strategy and then instead get help on the tactical side. So that was the reason of why we did this. Yes, someone on the team could have done that, but maybe it would have taken them an hour, when instead they could have been spending an hour on this big multi-million dollar launch that we're putting together. So that's not to diminish your work, because your work is important. That's to let you know that the opportunity for you to come in and do some very, not only tactical work, but also strategic work as well, is going to be super helpful in organizations. So let's talk about the strategy side. Oftentimes, companies have needs. This is why they hire consultants, that they have these big goals that they're trying to get to, and they don't have a roadmap to get there, or they're experiencing some issues and they're not sure why. Yes, they could, poll everyone on the floor and try to figure out some ideas. But again, how long would that take? They are trying to achieve these goals. They need someone who already has a framework, a process, who has proven expertise in this area to come and create the shift that they need in a timely fashion. So, not only is it an opportunity from the tactical perspective, but it's also helping them get results faster on a strategic side. So, even if I've talked a lot about leadership and development professionals, so let's put this into that particular arena. Helping a company to develop their leaders, number one, is something that is going to help them to make more money, help them to retain their employees, help them to get the most out of the teams that these leaders will be supporting. You could say, well, don't they have company trainers to, do that? Yes, but most times what are they focused on? New employees, helping them get up to speed. They may not have the expertise to talk about psychological safety, emotional intelligence, and all these different things that you have gotten deep on, have developed frameworks on, and have had results leading companies through this. They don't have time to try to train up Lucy, who's the corporate trainer, on what psychological safety is and how to develop a program around that. That wastes time. It makes more sense for them to go out and find Liz, we're just going to give an example, or Shawnee, and say, hey, let's bring her in. She's already got all this set up. This has worked before. We can just have this system implemented into our company. So, with that being said, you want to make sure that whatever it is that you are offering to the corporate space, that you're very clear on your expertise, how it translates to results for the company. I always say that it's either making more money or saving more money. Those are your primary goals. Everything under that umbrella, there are different levels to how that can look. But at the end of the day, you're always speaking to that. If you're retaining talent, you're saving money. If you're developing talent, you're adding money to the bottom line because that makes them more productive, that makes them want to stay, all the things. So you got to start thinking about it from the level of that CEO or that company leader. What are the things that will move the needle in the company? What brings in or saves more money? All right, so that's kind of my example. And needless to say, with the email banner example, we paid it. It was no big deal. And again, they get multiple opportunities to do different things like presentation design, um, we talked about the email part. What else? One pager design or template design. So, if you are even someone who does marketing collateral or is a done for you service provider, corporate contracts are still an opportunity for you to get some of that tactical work and then also come in as at a consulting angle, because sometimes even though companies may have branding or pieces of content that they typically use, they may need someone to figure out how to make this all seamless, right? So we talked about my experience being at a larger company, but think about some of your mid-sized companies or even smaller companies, not necessarily entrepreneurship, small business. I mean, small businesses that are bringing in, million to whatever is the bracket for that. Think about those companies. They've got employees, they've got a good, system in place, but maybe things are just very disjointed and they need a consultant as well as a service provider to help them create some consistency in that part of their company. Again, it wastes time and resources to try to train someone inside of the company to do the thing when they can just hire you as the expert who already has a process. So that's the position that you want to take as you are going after these corporate opportunities, is that I am the expert. I have the process. Yes, they have a team, but that team will be led by my process. It takes more for them to be able to try to get their team to replicate me versus me coming in and running the process. So don't deter yourself. Don't make it seem like they don't have anything, or they don't need help with anything, or because they have this amount of money, there are not any issues. When I tell you, inside of my company, inside of my specific team, I've recognized so many different issues. A lot of you guys talk about systems and processes and SOPs. Do you understand there are so many large companies that do not have SOPs down to the team level, right? Down to the individual organization level. This is where you can come in and create influence. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm doing my business at Microsoft, just in Seattle. It could be there's a team here in Atlanta, right? You could literally be going to that site and working with them, particularly on things like systems. So there's an opportunity to showcase yourself as an expert. Don't let them having an internal team make you shrink back. stand up and say, well, I'm going to uncover and see what opportunities may be a hole, maybe a gap. Is it leadership? Is it their systems? Is it their marketing or branding? And how can I show up and solve the problems that they need? That's it. And showing up as that expert is going to be key, knowing that they need you in order to achieve their goals. They need your expertise. So, that is the background and the thought process in terms of why companies decide to hire, what positioning that you want to take when you're going after this, and the importance of building out a framework, a process for how you approach these particular problems that your customers or potential customers will have. So, let's talk a little bit about that. Developing your framework is going to look like taking people through the simplified way. Companies don't need to go a million different ways. We need the answer to their simplified problem. Taking them step by step through that, addressing the major pain points they have, the major questions that they have in each part of that framework is going to showcase your service, your consulting, your workshop as the top option for them to go through if they want to accomplish said goal. So if you feel like, hey, I really don't have a framework or it's loose and things like that, what you want to do is start having some of those market research conversations with individual companies. Let that be the driver to what your framework looks like and even what your service is going to look like. I always tell people when they first start this process, don't go in trying to do a proposal or a whole map out of what you're going to do before you've even understood what is the problem for them. What do they see a solution as? What would they like to see in terms of the outcomes? Let that influence what that looks like. So, and also, another part of this that I wanted to share that I just thought about is you can also work with those individual teams. So maybe it's not necessarily that all the work is handed off to you. Maybe you come in and empower or train the teams to be better in their role. Again, your expertise is coming in to pour gasoline on a potential fire that they already have to help accelerate their results. That's all they care about. They want to make more money. They want to be more productive. They want to be sure they're doing the right things. So, for example, social media is coming to mind for me. So, I'm going to go with that example. If you are someone who does social media posting, social media management, all of those things, yes, companies do have that. But a lot of these people who are on, social media teams, they may not necessarily be as ingrained as you are, someone who's living and breathing it every single day. If you think about this, they just do it for their 9 to 5 job. I'm sure they probably have, forums or things that they're interested in. But if you're like literally an expert on social media and you can help people really bring their corporate pages alive in a different way, that's expertise that you can go and train an internal team on to follow your processes and your frameworks. If it gets results, they're going to want it. So think about that. Think about the work that you're doing. If you don't already have a solid framework, but you are getting results, try to think about in a corporation, how could this be applied in the same way to get them to whatever your end outcome or your end result is? All right. So, just to recap and rewind if you need to, companies do have opportunities to hire external vendors when that is getting them to the result in a faster way, when that is allowing them to not add more to the plate of the experts that they've paid, 6 figures or whoever for, and they want them to focus on these things, but they have a very technical ask that they're going to go out and seek external vendors for. And then make sure that you always have a framework or process to lean on. That expertise that you have needs to be in a step by step process that makes sense for your potential clients. That way they know, hey, if I'm hiring, Liz or I'm hiring Susie, I'm going to get X, Y, and Z result because she has a process for this. One of the things that I just heard today in a meeting was I've went through these things or I've worked with people before and wasn't sure, what I was getting out of it. And then I got nothing. You need to make sure in order to stand out in these conversations that you're showing an end result. Like you're showing that you've already thought through plenty of different ways how this could come and you've shown them a straight path to where they are to getting to where they want to be. Not saying it's guaranteed. It takes, work. It takes a lot of different areas, but you want to show that you're forward thinking and that you are an expert and show up as that. My biggest piece of advice to you all is don't let anything, whether it be, oh, they already have a team, or any other limiting beliefs that you may have as to why you're not going after opportunities with larger organizations or just in general. Don't let that stop you. If we hired somebody for this $800 banner, companies can surely hire you to do a $5,000 talk, to do a $6,000 course that's going to help them get to X, Y, and Z result. They identify the problem, you have the solution, they will pay it. I think that's a good way to leave this. So, now that you've kind of understood this, if you are here today and you're like, okay, I see it. I see an opportunity for me to work with these corporations. I'm not going to limit myself by saying they have a team so they can't work with me, but I need strategy. I need a system. I need consistency in how I'm going to go after these opportunities and how I'm going to navigate this conversation. And I want these corporate contracts, these corporate opportunities to be in my business like today. I've been talking about June 30th being, prime time to start bringing in some opportunities. My company is going after several as well. So let's join this ride together. Like, let's make sure that your expertise is out there and in front of these organizations. Now, I want to give you a look into my process. So before I do that, this concludes the end of the training. I like to say that. So if you just came for the information today and you're not at this time wanting to figure out how to take this further, you are free to log off for today, and I will see you next week for next week's episode. But if you do want to learn more about how you can actually start doing this, not just believing it, but do it in your business, stay on, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can do that. So my process is all about helping you first translate what you've already created. So I love working with people who've already been successful in B2C, right? Because you have content, workshops, trainings, all these different things that have already worked and generated results for people. Now you want to take that and figure out, how does that translate into a B2B offer? Or maybe you've already done a workshop series for corporate and you want to figure out how to turn it into a on-demand course or something different. So helping you to morph what you've created successfully and just put a few shifts on it to make it attractive to corporate audiences is the first part of the framework. In that piece, it also includes pricing. So I again talk to a lot of people. I'm like, how much are you doing this for? Or, what's your price point for these different things? And a lot of times I believe that people are leaving money on the table. I'm not sure if it's just lack of understanding and lack of understanding what you can charge for these things. But that piece, I don't want to happen for anyone working with me. I want to make sure that you understand the value of what it is that you do. And one thing that I shared in a recent post is it's not always about what's included. Sometimes it's just as simple as, who is it for? So we talked about with coaches, typically in the B2C space, you see workshops anywhere from free to maybe $97, maybe $197 on the high end, right? But you're going through, if you actually do a workshop. I know there are people who say workshop and then it's just a glorified, sales pitch. But we're talking about a real workshop with real content that people can actually use and implement based on what you shared. So we're not talking about sales pitches. Workshops like that you've done for those prices, which is fine, continue to do that. But if that end result means more for someone in a corporate organization and it helps them make more money, save more money, companies are willing to now pay a premium because of what that means to their company. So for an individual, a $27 workshop may mean, we're just going to guess, another 10K in business. We'll say that. So yeah, they'll pay $27 or $97 all day for that result. But if your same exact workshop in a corporate organization helps 20 people to generate $1 million in the company, why wouldn't they pay $500 for each person? They would. So that I wanted to explain that because that is how you differentiate doing the same work for a different audience. Of course, you can sprinkle in a little bit of difference, which I do with my audiences anyway. But the core of the content is helping them get to a greater result because of the audience, not necessarily changing what it is that you do, but who are you sharing it with? And when you share it with them, what are they going to do with it? Same thing with even business owners. If I'm sharing something with a new business owner, a concept, a way of believing, a mindset, the way and result in which they are going to take it, which someone seasoned is going to take it, may be vastly different, which is why one would be more invested than the other. One would be willing to pay more than the other because of the result that they stand to receive. So I hope that was helpful. So that is the offer piece. The second part of the framework is going to be the marketing. So figuring out exactly how to generate these leads on a consistent basis. Two areas or three areas that I suggest there is first using your network around you. This is what has had my clients able to land contracts in a very fast way, simply because they've had people in their network that we could just tap and we just build a system around. Hey, here's what we created. These are the people that we're looking to talk to. And they're like, hell, I actually already have someone in my network that is in this particular role or can introduce me to X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, boom, here's what we're going to send to them. Here's what we're going to ask for. And this is how we're going to move an opportunity forward. So referrals first. Then it is using your online networks like LinkedIn. Have a whole system for that. We don't have time to talk about that today. Most of you guys who've been here for a while know me as a LinkedIn person. So going out, finding leads that way has always been lucrative to keep people in your pipeline. And then the third level to that is going to be your in-person engagements. So whether that's workshops that you go to, that is volunteer that you're already participating in, conferences, whatever that looks like, and using that opportunity to get people into your pipeline as referrals or as the actual end user. So that's marketing. And then the final piece of the framework is going to be the sales process. And that is where you're going to have these conversations where you're showcasing your expertise, where you're talking about your signature framework and process, and where you're ultimately helping this client guide themselves to a decision of, yes, they want to move forward and work with you. So that is how I work with clients. And right now, I would like to take the moment to invite you to join me in that. I would love to help morph your business, transform your business, help you go after these amazing opportunities, not only just about the check, but also about the impact that you can bring. I know a lot of you are so passionate about working one on one with people, and I have helped people to build pipelines from these corporate workshops and organizations to filter qualified people into their one on one programs. So it all gets to happen. Like nothing that I say here about corporate contracts or the opportunities is absolute. You can still do the B2C work and do the B2B. You can still do corporate contracts and have one on ones. It gets to be everything you decide for it to be. So, if that is something that you're serious about, like you're ready to start having consistent contracts in your business, you're ready to put in the time to do some of the outreach, to, have sales conversations, to put together proposals, or even if you have a team that supports you and you want to bring them in on this process, then I would like to invite you to work with me. All it takes is for you to click the link below, complete the application, and book a call to chat further. And we could talk about what that looks like for you, whether you're currently a solopreneur or you have a team that will support you in getting these corporate contracts in your business, and you want some support in training up your team to be able to do this effectively. All right, so click that link. We'll have a conversation. I am very, very clear and very solid in the fact of knowing who's a good fit and who's not, who's going to likely get the best results and who's not. So, as long as you are transparent with me, I will be transparent with my assessment and be able to share with you if working together is a good fit. And if it's not, I will provide you with a resource. So, that's how the call will work. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM and then you can get that link, schedule your time, schedule your call, and let's get to work. All right. So I will see you all next week. I'll be dropping the topic early next week if you would like to be here for our episode. We hang out here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can catch me here live talking about topics related to breaking into B2B and creative things that you may want to think about as you are shifting your offer, shifting your business model to also include, not replace, this work that we are doing here on the corporate contract side. All right, guys, I thank you all for tuning in and look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.